when I was growing up, so my dad was a travel agent, so he had a map of the world on his wall, and then he had this other map next to the map of the world, just as big, and I said, "What's that?" And he said, "That's Israel." And I said, "What's Israel?" And he said, "That's the home of the Jews." And I said, "So why don't we live there?" My name is Mois Navon. I got my degree at UCLA in computer engineering. I worked in the field for over 35 years. At the same time, I was always very interested in philosophy and religion. I became an Orthodox rabbi, and lately I finished my PhD in Jewish philosophy, where I wrote about the intersection of these two worlds, the moral status of artificial intelligence. And so now I'm teaching that actually as a course at Ben-Gurion University. So we made Aliyah in 1992 with our two daughters. One was 3 years old and one was 1 year old. We had 3 boys here in Israel. So it was a hard landing, but we always had in our mind that we are fulfilling prophecy. We're fulfilling the dream of Jews for 2,000 years to return to the land. That's what kept us here. I'm very American, but I'm still also Israeli, and I believe that people need to adapt and adopt the things that make sense to them. I was raised a Sephardi Jew, but I also really appreciate many Ashkenazi customs, and so I do what's good, I guess the way I'm Israeli is that, just trying to make things work and not stopping at anything, and tenacity and resilience that the Israeli people show, I think is something very powerful that everybody really needs to adapt and adopt. How can you be an engineer, a scientist, and be a rabbi and Orthodox? And really, it's unfortunate that that's even a question, because really today, science supports our religious beliefs. I mean, whether it's, evolution does not contradict God. There's such a complexity to the human body, just to everything being created here, that we have a consciousness that we call consciousness. Religious people call that a soul. It's something that allows us this, what's called subjective experience, that we can experience the world. I don't see a conflict, I see support between the two. I mean, I ended up at Mobileye really, you could say by luck, you could say by the hand of God. It was at a time that was very difficult economically in Israel. I was looking for a startup and I wanted to work for something from the ground up, and it sounded like a great idea. People don't know that basically it was just trying to detect people and do what's called adaptive cruise control. Now everybody thinks of Mobileye as ADAS, Advanced Driver Assistance Systems, and really the machine behind autonomous vehicles. At the time, we were doing something much simpler, but it still sounded like something very interesting. But it was a very difficult beginning. We were in a house, we were just had a very low budget. Mobileye was known as paying lower salaries than any other engineering companies. We were in Jerusalem, not Tel Aviv. And so it wasn't easy. But it was very rewarding, and I think that, the most difficult engineering designs that I ever did in my life were at Mobileye. All of the patents that I got were at Mobileye. And then of course the end, that's a very happy ending, right? It was the largest exit in Israeli history, which again, some people call luck, some people call the hand of God. For a Jew, you're fulfilling purpose, and I think that purpose, like Viktor Frankl said, there's no greater drive for a human being than fulfilling meaning in your life. And so, yeah, I could definitely not do this anywhere else but Silicon Valley.